Shabbat Shalom and Good Yontif. Well, it was a very warm Jerusalem summer evening in July of 1993. The sun had just set, but the asphalt on the street was still steamy as I, 19 years old, stepped off the bus from downtown Jerusalem in the suburb of French Hill. I was living with an Israeli family for the summer. My dad had died 3 years earlier, and when he did, my mom gave me the ring that he had been wearing as his wedding band for the last 5 years of his life. They had bought matching his and her bands while on a trip to Italy. I loved the ring, and I wore it on my right hand every single day. That particular evening, after getting off the bus, I stopped at the local Merkolet. It's an Israeli convenience mart of sorts, and I bought a popsicle for my walk from the bus to the house. The 10-minute walk took me along a cliffside overlooking the valley towards the southeast, towards the Negev. As the popsicle melted, syrupy juice ran down my fingers. As I transferred the popsicle to my left hand, I shook the juice off my right, and as if in slow motion, my father's ring slid off my finger and flew off my hand over the cliff. It was gone. I panicked. I arrived to the house with crocodile tears streaming down my face, no doubt hysterical. I can still see my Israeli family looking at me so strangely that I was so hysterical over this ring. But they loved me, so my Israeli father borrowed a metal detector and actually tried to go find the ring on the cliffside. I remember that, but he found nothing. It was so sweet that he tried, because I think they thought I was completely nuts. They could not understand why I was so beside myself, and honestly, it was less because of the sentimental value and more because I truly thought my mom would be so angry with me. And the irony of it all was that my dad used to always say, always, "It's just a thing." It was one of his sayings. It's one that I remember most from my 17 years with him. "It's just a thing," he would say. Now, it's not that he didn't like nice things. He did. He liked nice wine and nice cars and nice travel. But he did not give them value beyond their worth. He saved that for people, his family and his friends, and the experiences he shared with both. It's just a thing. This idea, this value, it's part of the legacy left to me by my dad. I've said those words to my own kids often. When my daughter called crying because she lost a necklace that I had loaned to her, I reminded her, "Eden, it's just a thing." When Rabbi flips, scratches, scrapes, or dents the car or the garage annually, I remind myself, don't be mad, it's just a thing. In all seriousness, I love this legacy from my dad. When I say these words, it reminds me of him, like he's speaking through me to his grandchildren or the son-in-law that he never met. Interesting piece of linguistic trivia. There is no word for history in Hebrew. The word that comes closest is toldot, meaning generations or descendants. The term appears frequently in the Torah and conveys the idea of continuity and of passing down heritage through the generations. The idea of legacy is central to us as Jews. It matters more than history. What came before takes a back seat to how we impact the present and the future. What we leave when we leave matters. And this is Yom Kippur, the holy day in which we are meant to rehearse our death. So it's prime time for us to think about our own legacies. Now, when our beloved member, Judith Mandel, recently died, I found myself thinking about the idea of legacy because Judith thought about it a lot. She was intentional about the kind of legacy that she wished to leave for her kids and her grandkids. She wrote down her values, her wishes for them, her hopes for the future. Judith grappled with the idea of dying, of mortality, the finiteness of it all. It really, really bothered her. Legacy, the fact that her values and dreams would live on through the generations after her, that idea brought her peace. In the iconic novel, From Here to Eternity, the character Malloy smiles and says, "The little bit you and me might change the world, it wouldn't show up until 100 years after we were dead. We'd never see it." And as Powell responds, "But it'd be there." Here is yet another of those paradoxes we seem called upon to embrace. On the one hand, thinking about our legacies can be important, knowing that we have made some contribution to the world and that our years will leave their mark is a source of comfort. On the other hand, our legacy should not be yet another object or identity to which we become attached. As with all that we will eventually leave behind, it is for future generations to carry our legacy forward in ways that we may not even be able to imagine. The Talmud gives us this story. One day, Honi was going on the road and he saw a certain man planting a carob tree. And Honi says to the man, "How many years does it take for this carob tree to bear fruit?" And the man says, 70 years. And Honi says, "Is it clear to you that you will live another 70 years? And the man replies, "This man found a world containing carob trees, and just as my ancestors planted for me, I'm planting for my children." So Honi sat down and ate bread, and drowsiness overcame him, and he fell asleep. An outcropping of rock arose around him as he slept. He became hidden from sight, and he slept for 70 years. And when he woke up, he saw what looked like that very same man picking some of the fruit from that carob tree that he had planted. And Honi said, "Are you the man that planted this tree?" And the man said, "No, I'm his grandson." Most of us in this room learned to ride a bike at some point in our lives. And many of us have taught someone else to ride a bike. The cardinal rule when you're learning to ride a bike is that if you look back, you're going to fall. You have to keep moving forward. It's the hardest thing about riding a bike, and it is the hardest thing for us as well. We are inclined to want to look back, to mine the past, to obsess over the details of what has already taken place. But it's not about the past, it's what's ahead. History is a record of past events and facts and figures. It provides a very nice timeline of what happened, documenting actions and decisions and outcomes. And while history is essential for understanding how we got to where we are, it can often feel distant and detached, like a series of facts we memorize. But legacy, on the other hand, legacy is about the impact that those historical events have on people and communities. It's the enduring influence and values passed down through generations. Legacy, it's personal because it's the stories of people who made choices that changed lives. History may tell us what happened, but legacy shows us how it felt and what it meant to those involved. Legacy inspires action and encourages others to build on what has come before. Think about MLK Jr. or Gandhi. They are remembered not just for their historical actions, but for the ideals that they stood for. Because legacy is about what we choose to leave behind, whether that's love or creativity or resilience or community spirit. And these lessons shape future generations in ways that mere historical facts cannot. Legacy contributes to our sense of identity and highlights the continuity of culture and traditions, allowing us to evolve while still honoring where we came from. It allows us to feel the presence of those who came before, so their memories can truly bless us daily. Judith always preferred the phrase, "May their memory be a blessing," rather than, "May they rest in peace." And I understand why. I prefer it as well. It just feels more Jewish. What will your legacy be? What will you leave to your family, to your community, to this world when you are no longer here? Legacies are alive and well and being planted like carob trees all the time here at Congregation Micah. Frances Cutler is with us tonight. Frances is a child survivor of the Holocaust. When she was just a young child, her mother left her at an orphanage in the hopes that she might be saved. Her mother was subsequently murdered. Frances, besides being an incredibly kind and loving human being, has dedicated so much of her life to speaking about anti-Semitism and the Holocaust to groups in synagogues, schools, and churches. Additionally, she and her late husband, George Hahn, conceived of and financially seeded the beautiful sculpture entitled Children of the Shoah that sits in our ginkgo patch outside the front of our building. Legacy. Teach our story to the next generation. Aaron Weedus is here with us tonight. Aaron is a rather new member to Micah and came to us through My Connections. Aaron, where are you in here? Okay, I see you. My Connections is the young adult group started by Cantor Josh. Aaron wanted to make a contribution to the larger Jewish community in Nashville, so she started the Nashville chapter of a Jewish running club called Nice Jewish Runners. This organization was started after October 7th as a way to bring the Jewish community together during a heartbreaking time. The Nashville chapter meets twice a week, has been sponsored by Fleet Feet, and attracts more and more runners, joggers, and walkers every time it meets. Legacy, set aside time to build community. Sally Wolkoff is not with us tonight in person, but she is watching via live stream from her new home in Atlanta. Sally and her husband were both prisoners in Auschwitz and miraculously survived. They made their way to Nashville, where they raised their beautiful daughters, Ruthie and Deborah. Henry, Sally's husband, was an excellent jeweler, and when he died, the family went to take his picture from a frame for the obituary. In the frame was a note that read, "I love you. Don't fight over my stuff." It's true. Henry left a legacy similar to my dad's. It's just stuff. It's not important. Sally went on to donate the beautiful Yortzeit tree that sits in our lobby by the chapel in Henry's memory. By the way, Sally is a youthful 103 years old and still as beautiful and amazing as ever. Hi, Sally, we love you. Legacy, prioritize what truly matters. Larry and Carol Hyatt are here with us tonight. Members of Congregation Micah since 2005, Larry and Carol have always felt a kinship with the land of Israel. After October 7th, they found a way to align their resources with their values when they made a gift to the Gandel Rehabilitation Center in Israel to build nurses' stations for the facility. Larry and Carol are very humble and do not give in order to be recognized, but at a time of crisis for the state of Israel and rising anti-Semitism here at home, their generosity is an inspiration to us all. Legacy. Share your gifts generously with the community. Faith and Ron Galbraith are here with us tonight. Faith and Ron are both past presidents, which would surely be enough of a legacy of commitment to our community. But if you know Ron and Faith, it's not enough for them. Ron chairs our security committee, which, as you might imagine, requires a little bit of time and energy these days. Faith welcomes every single new member to Micah by securing their annual support commitment. Hardly a volunteer position that has people lining up outside my door. Their legacy to Micah is unquantifiable. Legacy. Step up to lead, contribute, and make a difference. How do you want to be remembered? What hope can you give to the next generation? How do you make your name a good name? How will you contribute to Micah's community legacy? The theme of our service is faith over fear. Why did we choose this name, this theme? Because fear tells us that when we die, we're gone and it's all over. That we will be forgotten and our life will not have lasting impact. Faith changes the narrative. Faith tells us that we will die, but what we do in this lifetime has the possibility to affect the generations that come after us, that we are planting for the future, that our memory has the chance to truly be a blessing to our children and our grandchildren, our community, and the world. When we say as part of our mission at Micah that one of our goals is to heal the whole world, it's not that we expect that to happen today, but we do aspire to be a community whose cumulative actions eventually bring healing to our world. Now, I mentioned Judith Mandel earlier in the sermon. She was the one who preferred the words, "May your memory be a blessing." Judith thought a lot about her legacy, so much so that she penned, and she was an author, she penned a legacy book for her family. One of the axioms that Judith lived by, written both in her book and shared by her daughter Abby at the Shiva, is that Judith would say, "Mop as you go." Now, if you knew Judith, you knew she was quite orderly and neat. I can literally see Judith mopping, cleaning up as she went about things, whether in the kitchen or wherever she may have been. But I suspect she also meant the fifth axiom to be figurative. Don't wait to clean up after yourself. Don't wait until the holidays to apologize to someone you may have hurt. Don't put off the opportunity to offer forgiveness and mend a friendship. Despite what John Mayer may have sung, don't wait on the world to change. Mop as you go. So today, I wear a ring made from stones that came from a bracelet my father once gave my mother. I never wore the bracelet because I worried about losing one of the stones. But it felt silly to let it sit in a drawer, collecting dust. And yet I worried maybe I shouldn't wear it every day, maybe a stone would come loose and fall out. But then I remembered that it's just a thing, and that the people in my life, the relationships that I am blessed to have with family and friends, my beloved Micah community, those are the true gems in my life. On this Kol Nidre, as we think about the vows we take and the promises we make, commit to the legacy that you wish to leave. I think Judith and my dad would get along well. Perhaps they are right now, watching together on the World to Come live stream. Judith, I'm trying to mop as I go. And Dad, thank you for the legacy. I love you. Shabbat shalom.